Good morning. So it is Wednesday, new comic book day. Woo. My makeup looks like I did it in the dark. I didn't. I have 4 titles to talk about this morning. One of them is not there. So there's a phantom 5th title, which if you know me, you'll be surprised about. But it's not there, so I don't know what to tell you. All of my comics, as always, came from Green Brain Comics in Dearborn, Michigan. It is a great comic book store. We are expanding. If you were watching this on October 19th, then I will remind all of you guys that ComicCon is coming this weekend. It is the all-female comic creator convention. So all of our creators are women, but the convention is open to everybody, male, female, otherwise. It'll be on Saturday, and there is a VIP drink and draw event on Friday where you can come and hang out with the artists. There will be drinks, there'll be finger food. It'll be a good time. So, that's all I have to say about that. Let's get to the comics. So we'll start with the number 1s. The first one being Cave Carson Has a Cybernetic Eye, which is the 3rd title from DC's new print line Young Animals, which is being headed by Gerard Way. This one is written by Gerard Way, and I think it's John Rivera. I could be wrong. If I am wrong, it says down here. So, I have read everything that has come out on Young Animals so far. And I think that this one is probably my least favorite. Even though it was good, it was interesting. It wasn't really, it felt like I had a lot of missing information, which, to be fair, most of the Young Animal titles have kind of felt like that. Like maybe I don't know who these characters are. I went back and looked at the Wikipedia for Cave Carson, because that's what I do when I start in on a comic and I don't necessarily know the characters. I'll go check out like their backstory on Wikipedia. And he doesn't really have one. So, I mean, he does. He's been around since the 60s, but not like in any huge capacity. I don't know. I'll figure it out, I guess. It was interesting. I don't know if I'll get number 2, but it wasn't bad. If you want to try something new and you are into like adventure stories where there is like a cyborg aspect, I think that you're going to really like this. The art style wasn't my favorite, but it was definitely more of a cartoony look to it, which I usually really like, but there was just, it looked a little bit like Kim and Kim, or no, not Kim and Kim, like Bounty, I would say, similarly in art style, which I know a lot of people really like. It's just not really my cup of tea, but not bad. I'm not saying it's like a not good thing. I'm just saying, of the stuff I read this week, it was the thing I had the hardest time getting through. The next thing that we will be talking about, the next number 1, is Spell on Wheels, which I did not have a hard time getting through, and I was right, and it is being written by Kate Leth. Go Sarah. Oh my goodness. So do you like The Craft? Do you like stories about witches that are in their 20s? Do you like paganism? Do you like crystals? If you're me, then you like all of these things, and you were so incredibly super stoked about this comic. Oh my god. It was the number 1, so it was very introductory. We meet the 3 witches in question. I have already forgotten their names. There is action in the first one, there's magic, there's tarot, there's tattoos. I loved it. I was like talking to somebody online while I was reading it, and I was like, oh, I need to read this. Sure, it is like partly that time of year. It's a really good month to debut this book, but I think I'm gonna like it even when I'm reading it in January. It's a 5-part series, which, you know, it's a mini series, and I don't think it's gonna be an ongoing, but I really wish that it would, because at least from number 1, I loved it. So the lead characters are missing some items and they have to go on a magic road trip to find it. I know. Doesn't that sound great? 3 witches in their 20s who are, I think, like, okay, so it's very, like, millennial and modern, where they are dressed very modern and everything, but also has kind of, like, a hocus pocus, the craft element to it, where they are definitely powered witches, but there's also some, like, modern paganism. I love it. The next one that I read this week was, these are both not number ones. One is the beginning of a new storyline, and one is, sadly, I think the end of the run. The first one being Patsy Walker, aka Hellcat. So this is the Marvel Now! Again, finally, another Patsy Walker launch. Patsy Walker gets a new old enemy who I think is Black Cat. She looks a lot like Mockingbird, but she's not Mockingbird and she's a cat. Pretty sure it's Black Cat. I think that also she was in Hawkeye vs. Deadpool. I could be wrong about that though. Patsy Walker, it's normal Patsy Walker style where nothing super bad happens. It's all super cute. Black Cat is introduced. She's got her own like kind of girl gang. Patsy is hanging out with Jubilee and her other partner, who I'm like 90% sure was introduced in the like, so sometimes there's a storyline and then there'll be like 1 or 2 issues that are like not really a storyline. They're just kind of in between and then another storyline starts. So she was introduced in those 2 like in between issues, which I have in my house somewhere, but I don't know where they are and I don't remember what happened. So I don't like 100% know who she is, and I've been reading Patsy Walker for a while. Oh, but she's got like I really like her because she's got like a purse that she could just pull anything out of, which if you know me, I feel like you know why I identify with this. Anyway, it was very Patsy Walker. It's very just like gentle, and while there's definitely confrontation, nothing is real violent. There's no gore. It's really, you know, I wouldn't say it's for little girls, but I would say that like your tween could read it and probably be okay. There's maybe one minor thing where it's, I guess, sex adjacent. But otherwise, it was really good. It was Patsy Walker. Patsy Walker's like a sleeper. I know I'm going to like it. I'm going to keep it on there thing. The last comic that I read that I want to talk about is Mockingbird number 8, which I say this so much, if you know me, then you know how excited I've been for this cover for like ever. The second I saw it in previews, I like whipped previews across the room and made everybody look at it. This is the finishing up of the storyline that's been kind of running. Bobby's on the cruise in the Bermuda Triangle. Okay, listen, I apparently didn't read Mockingbird number 7. It's sitting directly next to me and I have it. I own it. Apparently didn't read it. Because I did not know what was happening. I like knew what was happening, but there was like a character introduced. I don't remember this. You know how that happens sometimes where you skip an issue. It was good. I figured out what was happening pretty quickly because I know about Bobby's history in the Marvel Universe, where I read a lot about her in conjunction to her being married to Clint Barton, Hawkeye. Hawk guy. I knew about this character and I knew about this storyline because I knew about their marriage. And I think that a lot of this comic has kind of been talking about their marriage from Bobby's point of view, which is interesting because I have only ever really experienced it through Clint's side. It's really like one of those situations where you're like, every story has 2 sides. The way we have experienced, it's Phantom Rider. Is the character who Bobby had a relationship with, is we experience it through Clint, who is like convinced that the Phantom Rider had drugged her and was like mind controlling her and everything, and they still got a divorce because of Phantom Rider. But his reasons are one thing, and then Bobby kind of gives another version of the story, and it's like, it reminds you that when we have comic book marriages, we usually only know about the man's point of view in these marriages when they end. Because female comic book characters are often kind of... Which is why I love Mockingbird so much, because this is the first time that she was getting her own series, and she's been around forever. You know what I mean? Why hasn't she had her own series before this? But I was looking for a number 9, and I don't remember seeing one solicited, and I don't remember seeing it in like the Marvel Now catalog. So I am a little concerned that number 8 is it for Mockingbird, which would be a bummer. But also, like, the trade just came out, and I think there was only, oh, it was probably 4 issues. How much you want to bet it was 4, and then they're going to stick the other 4 in another one. Anyway, so I loved it. If you haven't read Mockingbird, you can read numbers 1 through 8, and it'll be a really good time. I would suggest picking it up in trade, at least the first 4, because I know number 4 is hard to get your hands on for cover price, because it features Clint Barton pretty heavily. I purchased the last copy of ours from our store. Oh, like forever ago. Not even recently. Like right after it came out, I purchased the last copy of ours. So that one was real popular, and as far as Diamond, the distributor that many comic book stores use, I think all comic book stores use to get their comics, they are back-ordered, not stocked on that issue. Now I'm going to talk about the Phantom in the Room. Archie came out this week. I didn't read it. I don't have a single thing to say about the Archie that came out this week, and I'm a little disappointed in myself because Cheryl Blossom debuted. I canceled my subscription for Archie. Partly because of the Riverdale world, Archie's kind of my least favorite in reality. I love Betty, I love Veronica, I love Sabrina, I love Jughead, I love Reggie, I love Moose. But Archie, I think, is always kind of, like, make up your mind. Don't string 2 girls along. I just, oh. But I'm probably going to go pick it up because Cheryl Blossom debuts, and I want to get the Cheryl Blossom issue. But I didn't do it. So this is one of those things where I also tell people, like, it's totally okay to take a break from things. Like, I also am taking a break from Miss Marvel. I've gotten every Miss Marvel comic since Miss Marvel's been coming out. I have every single one of them. And I'm just not, I'm like burnt out on it. It's the best way that I can describe it. I'm taking a Miss Marvel break. I'm taking an Archie break. I'm taking a Gwenpool break. Trying to like try out some new stuff. Do some other things. It is okay to play with your pull a little bit. I mean, make sure that you do it at a time where you're not like screwing your comic book store. But otherwise, if you aren't into something, don't get it just because you're not into it. Like even if you used to be into it, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. That's all I've got this week. It was great talking to you. It is 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to be late for school. I'll see you guys later. Bye.